And we are live. We're streaming right now, folks. So many Facebook pages in different cities. We're here with Avi Lipkin. So wonderful to see you, Avi. Typically, we have our fun with As Goes Israel, So Goes the World. Different scenario today. We're talking right now live on all the GLC TV towers, 5 cities, 5 TV towers, national cable, as well as social media. Avi, I'm very relieved and happy to see your face, my friend. Tell me how you're doing.
We are all fine. It's interesting that yesterday we did our Zoom and things were very quiet. And as soon as we finished our Zoom and I started watching TV, the IDF spokesman said, get ready, the missiles are underway from Iran. And so then we had a very, very interesting evening because we were hit by almost 200 ballistic missiles from Iran. And literally the house was shaking, even though the missiles were falling miles away. There were also interceptions, which also caused the house to shake. The Iranians launched missiles at the Temple Mount. In other words, they were actually mocking their own mosque because the mosque is on the Temple Mount. So, of course, it's a Jewish target, but it's also an Islamic target for the Iranians. And they were firing missiles all over the country. I mean, and the purpose was half-ton dynamite warheads can kill many people. But because the Israeli people are very, very disciplined by the Israeli government and army, the Israeli public was in the safe rooms. So therefore, nobody was killed. There was one fatality in Jericho, which is Palestinian Authority. And actually, that was a policeman training at a camp of the Palestinians in Jericho. He was from Jabalia in Gaza. And so he was actually training. So it just shows that we know that there are people training to be Palestinian Authority policemen in what they call the day after. So there was one Palestinian killed, 4 injured. There were a number of Israelis who were injured. There were about 3 injured from shrapnel. There were always some who fall running to the safe rooms, to the shelters. So we had a few of those also. But the amazing thing is there were no fatalities with 200 ballistic missiles. That was a miracle.
That's amazing right there.
Yes. So God was shielding us. On the other hand, 2 Arabs from Hebron, from the Palestinian Authority, came with a Carlo submachine gun on the Israeli Metroliner. And they killed an Israeli soldier first. After they killed the Israeli soldier, they took his gun, an M16, which is much better than a Carlo. And then they started on a rampage, and they killed 7. There are about another 10 people in hospital. So it's interesting that 200 ballistic missiles don't kill anyone, but 2 terrorists from Hebron, who were illegally in Israel, killed 7 people. So this is the problem. You know, we are waging a war on 7 fronts. And Gaza, we're still fighting in Gaza, but the Israeli military has done a very good job in grinding down the capabilities in Gaza. And the fact is that there are virtually no rockets being fired from Gaza. Then we were warned that if we went up north into Lebanon, we would lose 15,000 people. And as I said before, we have not lost yet one person from rocket shelling or Hezbollah attack throughout Israel. But of course, one of the targets that we hit in the Dahia in Beirut was a general from the Iranian military. And so they say because of Nasrallah and because of other people we took out, that they were going to take their revenge. And so their revenge was 200 rockets last night. I don't know, yesterday you and I were considering doing a live broadcast, but because we were ordered to stay in the safe rooms, in the shelters, I could not get upstairs to my office. I said, we'll sleep on it. And then now they're saying that Netanyahu is in the secret of secret places in Tel Aviv with all his generals, and which is, I mean, think for a moment that in another hour, we start our New Year holiday of Rosh Hashanah, and Netanyahu is not with his family. He is in the safe room with the generals, planning the next steps. And Rosh Hashanah is the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Actually, Thursday, Friday, but then the Sabbath comes on Saturday, and that also means we have a 3-day holiday. But it looks like there's no holiday for Netanyahu, and so he's now with his top generals reviewing what we're going to do. And you know, I really shouldn't talk because I'm a nobody. I'm not a general, and I'm not a member of the Knesset, at least not yet. The plan for Iran, and everybody knows this, I'm not the only one who's saying this. Plan number one is to bankrupt the Iranian government by destroying the oil and gas in Khorramshahr, Bandar Abbas in Iran. We can do it. We did it in Yemen twice at the port of Hodeidah. We can do it in Bandar Abbas and the west coast of Iran. And also the plan is to strike at certain parts of the nuclear program. We probably cannot stop the nuclear program, but we can put it back a few years. So I don't know yet what's going to happen. Of course, President Biden is saying to Israel, don't. But this is not about Kamala Harris and her election. This is about Israel's existence and survival.
Right.
Right. So we will see. I don't want to make bets, but I have a feeling that something's going to happen in the next 3 days. And actually, one of the reasons it's good to have an attack on Iran now is that because of the Rosh Hashanah holiday and the Sabbath, you have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Sabbath is the third day, 3 days, people are at home, people are not working. So the potential targets of the Iranians are very much secure in the private homes and ready to go immediately into the bomb shelters. We have a 9 to 10 to 11 minute forewarning when the missiles are being launched from Iran. And actually, the United States military is playing an important role in warning Israel. You know, from the satellites, when you see they have a certain type of warming up process that is picked up on the satellites. And when we see this, we know the missiles will be on their way to Israel within 9, 10 to 11 minutes. We had the same kind of warning from the Americans during Desert Storm with Saddam Hussein. So there are certain technologies that, and others that, of course, I don't know about. Iran is thoroughly ridden with Israeli spies and American spies. They don't even know who's who in Iran. And the Iranian leadership is very afraid that they've been, you know, burrowed into by Western spies. You know, I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of Iranians are just waiting to overthrow the regime. But they need a helping hand from the United States and Israel. And if the United States says, well, you know, we have elections on November 5th, then maybe Israel will have to go it alone. If you take out the oil and gas in Khorramshahr and Bandar Abbas, you destroy 80% of the economy of Iran. There will be demonstrations in the streets of Iran to overthrow that government because the government is crazy. The Iranian people are wonderful people. And I predict that the people of Persia, people of Iran, will become allies of Israel again, as they were under the Shah of Iran. But you've got to get rid of these crazy, evil Ayatollahs.
Well, you got to stop giving them billions of dollars from the left. That would be a good start.
Well, yeah, listen, the plan of the left was uh, uh, if you can't join, if you can't beat them, join them. If you can't beat the Iranians or you're not ready to beat the Iranians, join them and work for stability. This fallacy was also the fallacy of the Israeli government that for 17 years we were helping Hamas, we were giving them money, we were helping them build, and Hamas was beginning to be a prospering area. And it's just either we didn't know or we did not want to know that right under our noses, they built a whole underground city, which they were going to use to invade Israel, which they did do, by the way. And the big fight now in Israel and in the high levels of the Israeli military and government is how could it be that Israel, with its intelligence, did not see it coming, did not see that Hamas was going to attack us and kill 2,000 of our people in one day. So this was the worst day in Israel's history since the Holocaust. So the same thing with Iran. The fallacy of the left is that you can work with evil, tyrannical people. Just give them money, and they'll be your buddies. No, that's not the case. These people have an ideology, and the United States was just thinking maybe they could postpone the inevitable by giving Iran money.
I'm astounded. I mean, history has repeated itself.
It always does. Always does.
Trump made sure that Iran was broke, and on day one, Biden killed tens of thousands of jobs, shutting down the Keystone Pipeline, a direct assault against the middle class for the sake of communism. Actually, Valerie Jarrett, the Iranian who controls Obama, who controls Biden and Kamala. You think we would learn, but we are dealing with an ideology that is aligned with our enemies. We have been infiltrated, folks, and the evidence is clear. I don't think Americans are. Hopefully, they're wising up. My gosh, but it's like giving meat to a rabid dog. The ideology that wants to kill, steal, and destroy. Sound familiar, folks? And those who are aligned to kill, steal, and destroy. The rise of anti-Semitism and the worship of Moloch in America. There you go. And they're all gravitating to one area. And we've got to be wise, folks. We've got to be smarter than this. But we're glad that Israel is intact. And like I've always maintained, I believe that Israel has the ability today to take out all of their opposition in one day, maybe even 1 hour. But it's because of the restraint of Israel that these people who are continually equipped by our government to attack them, that they're still alive. Unlike Israel, Iran, and I'm glad most people are home in Israel, but they are still targeting the areas where they will have the highest body count. And Israel seems to be the only one worried in this war about taking too much casualties. And so here we are, folks. But this is all coming together. It's all making sense, isn't it? But we're so happy that it's fun.
I thought you were asking me a question. Another thing, which is very, very important, is that Lebanon, today it was our second day of the invasion of Lebanon.
Right.
And we have lost, as far as it's been publicized, we have lost 2 soldiers already in a fierce battle in a village overlooking the border with Israel. And there was shooting. There was a battle between Israel and the Hezbollah terrorists. And the news announcer was saying the reason we cannot just send in the Air Force and blow everything to kingdom come is because underneath the buildings in that little town are tunnels going straight to the Israeli border. And if you destroy the buildings, it's very, very hard to find out where the tunnels are. We have to go in there and find the tunnels, find the weapons they have, see how far the tunnels have gone. And for that, we have to fight hand-to-hand combat with the Hezbollah terrorists. because the plan of the Hezbollah terrorists, which, by the way, was paid for by Iran, which, by the way, was paid for by the U.S. president and the
There you
Democrats.
go.
Yeah. The purpose of these tunnels was to overwhelm the north of Israel with terrorists in the thousands coming across the border, raping, killing, pillaging, burning people to death, chopping heads off. I have to tell you one thing. I don't know if I mentioned this in the past with you, but in 1996, in November, when Netanyahu just became prime minister for the first time, I had the honor of participating in general staff war games. And one of the scenarios that we were told, which is, by the way, something I gave them, because of a Christian Messianic leader in Colorado who called me with this secret information, which is verified, and that was that that Hezbollah in 1996 was preparing to conquer a third of Israel, the north and the third of Israel, and so this is part of the war games. We were told 3 days the north of Israel would be under Hezbollah occupation. That thousands of Israelis would be killed. That's the reason that the Israeli government forced 60,000 residents of the north to be evacuated to hotels to get them away from the border area. Because the fact is, to this day, we still don't know where the tunnels end. So this is like Gaza. Gaza, by the way, they're still digging tunnels into Israel. We're still fighting war with the Gaza Hamas. They're digging tunnels. And President Biden says don't. So it's like, President Biden says, oh, we're going to defend Israel. I believe that. But they're not going to let Israel win. That's the important thing. We have to defeat the enemy. It's like Nazi Germany at the end of World War II, that you're not allowed to defeat them. You've got to negotiate with them, and you have to have don't. But the Allies didn't have don't. The French and the British and the Americans established 3 military zones in West Germany. The Russians, of course, had the Russian zone. And fighting went on with groups of Nazis until 1947. That's 2 years of fighting hardcore Nazi groups. So we have hardcore Islamic groups in Gaza and in Lebanon. This is not over by a long shot. This is going to be a long war.
Very, very frustrating, and of course, only 18 of the millions of Nazis were tried in the Nuremberg trials. Did you know that, folks? Only 18 of them were executed. The others were absorbed into America and Russia and other parts of the world. And of course, the Nazis in Ukraine were never disbanded. The Adolf Brigade is in existence to this day. How about that? Bet you didn't know that, folks. So we are reaping the rewards of not finishing the job. And here we are, the same ideologies that are running this administration, the same players, the same associations. And again, it's all about attacking God's people. And you better wake up to that fact. Our prayers are with you, Avi, and we're just so grateful that you're okay. What are the latest words from Netanyahu? I've been searching some of the other media. Of course, you can't believe most of what you're seeing and half of what you're hearing, but there's a resolution in your voice and in the attitudes of the Israelis, especially when Netanyahu has said enough is enough. What's the latest words from Netanyahu?
Well, Netanyahu was saying to the Iranian leadership, if you hit us, we hit you back.
Yeah.
And they hit us. They hit us yesterday. So this will not be over, I believe, until the Iranian leadership is removed. We need regime change. We need to free the people of Iran. I was surprised in 2009 when Obama was president, and young girls in the streets were being shot by snipers.
Nadia. Yeah.
By Iranian snipers. And the whole world had been expecting Obama to do something about it, but he didn't do anything about it. No. And all I can say is I think we're down to the wire right now. The fighting in Lebanon will also continue. and don't forget, if you destroy the Iranian economy, that's the end of Hezbollah because they will not fight Israel if they are not
Right.
getting paid their salaries by the Iranians. So actually, Israel is fighting the world's war. I don't want to say the world war, fighting the world's war. We are doing the fighting for Judeo-Christian Western civilization and democracy, and we cannot stop until the Lebanese people are free. I know they're talking now about putting together an alliance between the Christians, the Druze, and the Sunni Muslims in Lebanon, having new elections, and putting the Shiite Hezbollah out of business. You know enough to know that Lebanon used to be the Paris.
Oh, is it Paris of the Middle East?
Paris of the Middle East. Lebanon, we were always saying Lebanon would be the second country to recognize Israel. Mm-hmm. Our relations with Lebanese people was always a good relationship, even with the Shiites, until the Iranians sent in Hezbollah and killed anybody who refused to become an enemy of Israel. So this is an anomaly from 1982, 81. And the Lebanese people want to be free. They want their economy to blossom again. That can only happen when the Shiites are put down. When Iran is put down, I would think the United States, as a liberal, free, democratic country, should have been in the forefront to overcome Iran, overthrow the Hezbollah in Lebanon, overthrow the Hamas in Gaza. And yet everything has to be done by Israel. Israel by its lonesome. And President Biden says, don't because some lady, I don't know if she's a lady, but she wants to be president of the U.S. And she is virulently against Israel.
Of course she is, but she has no more class or control or leadership than the man on the moon. Bottom line is that Valerie Jarrett, the Iranian, who ran the Obama administration, even moved into one of his mansions after his presidency. That's the head of the snake. I know that's a big statement, but think about it. She's controlling Obama. Obama's controlling Biden and Kamala Harris, and they're giving billions of dollars to Iran. Right. Take care of that problem, and you take care of Iran. Iran needs to be broke again. Where do you think, as a Sovietologist, where do you think Putin stands in all of this? Is he just standing from afar and grabbing his popcorn and watching the show? Go ahead.
Well, Putin is basically, I don't want to say powerless. As long as he has nuclear-tipped missiles, he's not powerless. Right. But the moment Iran becomes a free nation and the people of Iran are free, Russia and China and North Korea have lost a partner. They've lost a criminal, psychotic partner. And it's very important. I mean, if I look at this from a geopolitical global perspective, and we have to find a way to prevent Iran from continuing as part of the bloc with the Soviet Union.
Well, it's an interesting time. Zelensky was over here again in a sweatshirt and looking very disgusted because it looks like his $1 billion payouts and hush money is possibly coming to an end. You could just see it all over his face. What a time we live in, folks. But we've got to be wise with our actions. Now there is a strike at our ports, and of course, who suffers from that? It's the American people. But the billions of dollars that were made by Big Pharma and the congressman, actually, Joe Biden has benefited the most from Big Pharma since 1994. Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, Obama, of course, and Mitt Romney have all made over $3 million, some in the $4 million mark, due to their part. I can only imagine the millions they've made under the table with China and Iran, and so it goes, like the Billy Joel song says. But we've got to be wise. We've got to pray for the peace of Israel. We have to call our representatives. Do you even know who your representatives are, folks? Avi, I was talking about you to an incredible man, Dan Rogers, the Republican chair of Potter County, Amarillo, and he's a true patriot and makes things happen. And We the People Town Square app, that's a free app that's censor free, and we need to get you on there, Avi. People need to lend their support to Avi Lipkin with BiblicalAlliance.com, and of course their prayers. We pray for a swift end to this war. I don't know. Do you see a swift end, or you see we're just getting started here?
Did Winston Churchill see a swift end when England was all alone? And President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was talking about putting aircraft on snow sleds and gliding them across the snow into Canada because the United States was neutral. Crazy, crazy, crazy. The Americans did not come in until December 7th, 1941, after the Japanese attack at Pearl Harbor. So the English basically were all alone fighting the Nazis, fighting the Japanese for 2 whole years. And England is a little bigger than Israel, a little more powerful than Israel. And we have to do, we are already fighting a whole year against Gaza. By the way, something very important before we close the show. On September 11th, 2001, America was attacked by Islamic terrorists. 3,000 Americans died, and the churches were packed for 3 weeks. But then former President George W. Bush said, no, Islam is a peaceful religion. Allah is God. And you know what? Everybody went back to sleep again.
Well, yeah. And Halliburton got $1 billion. Yeah, we could talk for years about that.
But anyway, my point is the American people are not allowed to know what Islam is. And you know what? My wife is saying to me, don't go to America. They'll arrest you for telling the truth, because the way things are now, anybody who says things that Avi Lipkin says is a hate monger. I'm not a hate monger. I'm just saying America is threatened by a religious enemy that says the way to destroy America is to blow up the major economic buildings, to blow up the economy, to blow this up, to blow that up. And America, as you always say, are having picnics and eating fast food.
Well, the project, the Muslim Brotherhood, the project, we will destroy them from within. We will bring down their high places. I mean, the 3-letter agencies have known that, but Obama fired so many non-Muslim generals and replaced them with Muslim generals. Did you know that, folks? Did you know that Biden shut down the peace talks because he wanted Hezbollah and Hamas to be included? Well, they're not nations. Oh, Biden did that. He armed Iran. He shut down the Abraham Accords. Okay, folks? And you're just trying to decide who to vote for? Are you serious? Wake up. Fight the battles that so your children don't have to, for God's sake. Pray for the peace of Israel. Stand up. Be a man, and stand with your allies, our only ally in the Middle East. Can you imagine a world without Israel? Look what happened in Lebanon. The Paris of the Middle East turned into a rat hole. Everywhere that ideology takes hold, that radical ideology, that's what you get, folks. Even when there was the transfer, Israel forcibly removed its own residents according to one of those agreements. They left behind the greenhouses, gave the Palestinians a way to make a living. What did they do? They burned down the synagogues. They burned down the greenhouses. This is an animalistic, destructive, and self-destructive force and ideology that we're fighting against with Hamas and Hezbollah. And here we are. You spoke of Winston Churchill. One of his quotes, trying to appease an enemy is like feeding an alligator and hoping it will eat you last, But when it comes to Iran, there's another quote from Winston Churchill, and it can apply to us Americans as well. We're getting sick and tired of all this. American people are not with this Luciferian communist government, you know. But Winston Churchill said that, dictators ride upon the backs of tigers they dare not dismount, and the tigers are getting hungry. Right now the Khomeini is being hid, and he should be afraid. A part of me wishes that Netanyahu would have said, there is no place in the world where the long arm of Israel cannot reach you. Even better yet, the long arm of the God of Israel. So right. That old John, and I hate to bring this pop culture reference into it, but I will. Old Johnny Cash song, you can run on for a long time. Sooner or later, got to cut you down. And the enemies of Israel are the enemies of our God, and they should be the enemies of America. So it's time to get back to leadership. It's time to have some integrity. It's time to go back to our founding fathers' biblically based Judeo-Christian values. And that's what you're seeing. We're at war between good and evil. And that ancient war. But we stand with Israel. We love you, Avi. Our prayers are with you in Israel. Folks, go to biblicalalliance.com. And those who know and love Avi, or those who are first discovering him, check him out, biblicalalliance.com. If you can, go to a Chase Bank. And Dennis Avi Lipkin, he's one of a kind. But amazingly, the Lord has sustained you through this entire time. Can you believe that October 7th is right upon us? And you can be sure that protests, I should say, Soros-sponsored demonstrations, leftist demonstrations, are already planned to protest the very existence of God's people in Israel. Right. But God will have the last word, won't he? So we love you, Avi. We appreciate you.
Love you too.
Talk to you soon.